Good morning, I'm David Lauder, and today's election day. So we've got some advice for you on what to look for and what maybe to avoid falling into some of the pitfalls that await anxious people as they wait for the returns tonight. First off, don't obsess too much about all of those early vote statistics that you may have seen. There have been a ton of people voting, and it's a tremendous thing for democracy, but it doesn't tell us very much about the outcome. We don't know who hasn't voted. We don't know how many people are going to vote on election day itself. So the fact that one side or the other may have done somewhat better than expected in the early vote doesn't really tell us very much about the outcome. Second thing, don't pay attention to the early exit polls. Every 4 years, someone leaks the exit poll data to a friend or a colleague. It spreads out on social media, and people start freaking out about what the early exit poll numbers say. They're almost always wrong. The early exit polls are partials. They're not complete. And as a result, they often give a very misleading picture of the election. So if you pay a lot of attention to them, you're probably going to mislead yourself. Wait until later in the day when the full exit polls are available and the networks begin to release the numbers. At that point, they mean something. Until then, not much. Finally, pay attention to the early voting states because they could tell us pretty early in the day who's going to win the election. Depends, of course, on how they turn out. But Florida, for example, counts all of their early votes ahead of election day. So when the polls close tonight in Florida, they will release all of the early vote that has been cast, which is going to be a large majority of the vote in the state. It'll be probably pretty heavily Democratic. So then what we'll wait to see is how much Trump supporters who vote on election day, whether they're going to be able to catch up with the more Democratic-leaning early vote that's already been cast. By the end of the evening, Florida will have reported probably 98% of its total vote for this year. So as a result, we'll know, unless it's really, really close, we'll know who won Florida. If Joe Biden wins, that pretty much closes the door to any realistic prospect for Donald Trump to win re-election. If Trump wins, well, then you can turn your attention to some other early voting states like North Carolina, which also processes its early ballots ahead of time. So again, in North Carolina, by about midnight Eastern time, maybe a little later, they will have counted almost all of their vote. So we will know what happened. Again, if Biden wins North Carolina, which is a must-win state for Trump, he's probably on his way to victory. If Trump wins North Carolina and Florida, then the outcome of the election is probably going to depend on that trio of Midwestern states and industrial states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, that put Trump over the top in 2016, plus Arizona, which has been heavily contested this year. Those states, we're not going to know for a while. We may not know Pennsylvania until Friday, Michigan more likely Thursday. Arizona could also be a day or two before they finish counting all of their votes. So if those early voting states don't give you an answer, you're probably best off just going to sleep, waiting to see how the vote turns out on Thursday, maybe Friday, because it's going to be a while. Fasten your seatbelt and wait for a long count.